Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Deserts of Plenty. My name is Ralph, and I'm the host. I guess that's obvious. I'm the one talking. And Deserts of Plenty is a podcast about making our way in this crazy world, or making my way. And I'm just sharing some thoughts and experiences that I am having, and to see if any of this resonates with you. So I will once again say this because I will be talking about medical stuff today. Uh, I do not give advice. I am not a doctor. And even if I were a doctor, I'm not your doctor. And even if I were your doctor, you are the one that's in charge of your medical well being, your physical, emotional, and mental, spiritual well being. And so this is information. This is stuff that, boy, I wish I'd known this. And that's the sort of the theme of today. Um, Things that I wish I had known, which would have made some difference. So let's just back up to about, I think, 2018, 2019. So I'm 57 now. So in that time, I'd be about 52, 53. And I noticed some things going on with me um, that I just put down as like, well, I'm getting older. And so these are just processes that happen. So, for example, one of the things I was getting, if not daily, pretty frequently, and it was episodes of brain fog. And so brain fog is an inability to stay concentrated, focused on a task or something that you're working on. I guess a task. So like if you're extremely tired, how hard it is to focus on something. That's kind of brain fog that I would get. And I also was developed high blood pressure. My blood pressure was 140 over 90, which caused my GP, to put me on medication. And the thing, one of the things about high blood pressure is there's no symptoms. There's no symptoms until it's really bad. So check your blood pressure. That is some advice that I will give you. I'm not going to tell you what your blood pressure should be, but I will tell you, check it. I was also getting instances of peripheral neuropathy, or what felt like that. Again, I shouldn't diagnose myself, but based on everything I've seen, it fits. And that's when you get some tingling or numbness in extremities, like fingers and toes. I would get it in my hands, and usually in my right hand. And it was transient. I would last for a few hours, maybe a day, and then it would go away. I started gaining weight around my midsection and putting on some weight. And yeah, I guess my waist went well over 100 centimeters for my waist, which is relevant in a moment. I'll talk about it. So these things were going on, and I just put them down. Well, 52, 53. Oh, the other thing I had was inflammation. I was getting a lot of inflammation, particularly in my feet. I was having problems with plantar fasciitis. My Achilles would often have problems. I got a couple cases of gout in my toes, but it seemed like once a month or something, I would be hobbling because I have some problem with my foot or one of my feet. And I just said, well, I guess this is just aging, and it sucked. So the pandemic hit, and then I started drinking like an idiot. And it got so bad. I was like, oh, is it 5 o'clock yet? Because during the pandemic, when there was nothing to do, I started drinking at 5 o'clock. And I would often go to bed, if not, slightly drunk, slightly intoxicated. And I did that every single day. And I think probably somewhere in the summer of the first pandemic, I said, this is ridiculous. Putting on this weight, these symptoms that I have are getting worse, or they're not getting better. So the first thing I did was I started cutting down on my drinking, and the way I did that is I would keep for the entire week, like I would drink beer predominantly, and I would, or if I drank, or wine was the other thing I would drink a little bit. And I would just keep all the empties for a week so I could look at them. And when I would see like a whole week's full worth of empty cans, and then I started calculating how much alcohol that was. That was my first step into cutting down. Just seeing it. I also started weighing myself daily, And it's a truism, apparently, that people who weigh themselves every single day will lose weight. And that worked for me. Um, and then, uh, what I was waiting for my gym to reopen because I thought, well, I put on 25 pounds. And once my gym reopens, I'll go back to the way I was. And these other symptoms that I had, I just thought, well, this is just part of aging, inflammation, peripheral neuropathy, high blood pressure, brain fog. This is just what goes on. And I was already on medication for my blood pressure. And the other thing I started doing was, because I had high blood pressure, was I started monitoring my blood pressure, 3 times a week. So I could track that and see what was going on. And so the pandemic kind of ends, the gyms reopen, I go back, I lose a few pounds, but not all of it. These symptoms don't abate. They stay where they are. My blood pressure is down a little bit from the medication, but it's struggling to stay in the 135 over 85 range, which is still, from what I read, is too high. And I'm always someone who doesn't like medication. I mean, I love medication, don't get me wrong, when it's necessary, but to be chronically on something is not a place where I want to be, because Western medicine, as wonderful as it is really bent more on treating symptoms, not on holistically looking at the causes of problems and addressing those. We wait for people to get sick, and then they show up at their doctor's office or at the emergency room with, damage that's been done to their bodies by a lifetime of, or several years of fill in the blank. Anyway, so what happened is I started really looking into ways to lower your blood pressure and ways to lose weight. And of course, I did everything that people do, I guess. Calorie restriction. I counted calories first. That seemed to work for a while, and then it stopped working. Without going into all of the weeds, I do have a background in medical research, which is relevant only because I did a lot of scientific dives and literally reading papers, or at least, the discussion parts of papers and the conclusion parts of papers, not really the methods and materials so much, but abstracts. And was listened to a lot of lectures by scientists on YouTube. And what I have now in retrospect, and again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not diagnosing anything, but maybe I feel like I am, but I feel very strongly that what I had in 2019 at the age of 52, 53 was the beginning of diabetes, like type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes, and or metabolic syndrome. 2 conditions which when I was a child didn't exist, but now affect 20, 30, 40, 50% of the population of adults. Like many adults now have metabolic syndrome or type 2 diabetes, or they're on their way to get those things. So a lot of these symptoms, brain fog, high blood pressure, peripheral neuropathy, inflammation. There's a couple other big ones too. In men, erectile dysfunction, and in women, polycystic ovarian syndrome, which are 2 of the leading causes of infertility in human beings. So these are all conditions and belly fat is the other big one that is hallmarks now of the beginnings of type 2 diabetes, or they seem to be. And so what I did after discovering all of this is I worked very hard to get my weight off, and I went to intermittent fasting, calorie restricted feeding, or not calorie restriction, but time restricted feeding. I do kind of a mix of those things, and I won't get into the details of what I do, because what I do is right for me, or seems right for me, but it always changes. And now flash forward to 2.5 years later, not quite 2 years later, 1.5 years later, down the beginning of this thing, my brain fog is gone. I do not have brain fog anymore. My blood pressure, without medication, I went off medication, is now 110 over 70, 110 over 75. 110 over 70 is apparently ideal. I thought it was 120/80, but that's like where the highest they want it to be. No more episodes of peripheral neuropathy. My inflammation has largely gone. In October, so that's about 9 months ago, I did messed up something in my elbow that I think that was an acute injury from lifting weights, and but the inflammation in my feet is completely gone. And I don't have anywhere else. My belly fat has abated a lot, and my waist now is 92 centimeters, which is down from a high of 107. And that's relevant because for health, we're looking for, especially in men, I forget what it is in women, but a waist to hip ratio of under 1. And mine was over 1, and now it's under 1. But also having a waist circumference under 100 centimeters. It's above that where we start to get into some problems. It's one of the hallmarks of metabolic syndrome, fatty liver disease, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, type 2 diabetes. So, and that's really what I want to get across today, is that some of these things that we think are associated with aging, like high blood pressure or higher blood pressure, like inflammation, like aches and pains. These things are not necessarily part of aging, but could be part of how our bodies change as we age and we don't adapt, right? I know so many friends who, they say to me, well, Ralph, I can't have dairy anymore, or I can't eat cheese, or I can't drink wine or gluten. And I think it seems like that all of us have certain changes. So we can digest or metabolize certain things differently than we could, right? This is something I never even thought of, that, I can eat whatever pizza, or I can eat crap, and I can just eat the same crap when I'm 25, and I can eat this at 50 and 70, and it's not going to make a difference because that's my body. Well, no, my body has changed apparently. And so things that I used to be able to eat quite well, now I can't. I have to listen to it. And so through fasting, through exercise, through changing my diet, more plant-based, and I would say the big hallmark for me is cutting down a lot on sugar, and especially processed things. It's not like I don't eat any of these things. Yesterday I ate most of a bag of chips, but I don't have them every week or every month. And I eat more, whole foods, real foods, things when you go to the grocery store, things without a barcode, or if it has a barcode, look at it. Or if it's got more than 4 ingredients, or if it's got ingredients on the list that you don't recognize, these things, okay. And as one of the researchers that I follow or listen to said, it's less about the food and what's been done to it, how it determines how healthy it is for you. So the more processing something has, generally, the worse it is. Or as Michael Pollan says, the food you make for yourself in your house is probably pretty good, but the stuff that's made by other people, that's probably not so good, because of all the ingredients that they add to it, or the way that food has been changed or altered or processed. Just cutting up an apple is processing. So it's not like none of us eat processed food. There's just different levels of processing, and I like to think of it that way. Because I used to be a big drinker of smoothies until I realized, or not didn't realize it, I learned that when you put fruit or vegetables in a smoothie, you destroy a lot of the insoluble fiber. It's no longer, the health benefits of it are taken away or much reduced. So I've stopped drinking smoothies, and I've now gone to eating more salads and more whole foods that are minimally processed. In my salad, I still put it in a food processor and chop it up smaller. But because I'd rather eat shredded carrot in a salad than whole carrots in a salad. But that's just a me thing. So what I really want to get across today is symptoms that we think may be just associated with the fact that we're getting older, oh, I can't run anymore. That happened to me about 4 years ago. I decided, well, I guess I'm done running because the last summer that I played softball, which is about when all this started, I noticed that my knees were just like the stopping and starting and turning. It was too hard on my knees. So I said, well, I guess I'm not going to run anymore. Well, I'm running again. I'm running fairly quickly, actually, for me, like not, not compared to what I used to do, or not even probably compared to other 57-year-old people who run consistently. But I'm running a lot faster than I thought I was going to run, and I feel amazing. And my blood pressure is quite low. And now there are other markers that I'm looking into. I bought myself a glucose monitor so I can monitor my glucose. I bought a uric acid monitor so I can monitor my levels of uric acid, because I want to be in control of my health and I want to see things coming before they become problems. I don't want to wind up in the emergency room clutching my chest or waiting until something that I don't want to ignore things. One final little thing, and I've mentioned this before. I went to my eye doctor again about this is longer, maybe 10 years ago, because the floaties in my eye they turned dark. So I think, the floaters in your eyes, like if you look in a clear sky, that's when you probably most likely to see them. These little bits of protein in the viscous part of your eyes, and they look little clear threads, which I've had my whole life, and everybody I talk to has them. But around a decade ago, some of them started turning dark, and on bright sunny days, it became annoying. Like, it didn't change my quality of life, but I found them annoying and distracting. They're gone. And, when I went to my eye doctor and told him about it, he just shrugged and said, yeah, well, there's nothing you can do about them. That's just the thing. Well, it seems for me, doing extended fasts of 60 hours took care of it, and they're gone. Inflammation is gone. Brain fog, gone. Peripheral neuropathy, gone. Belly fat, gone. And I would say for myself, the vast majority of this is from cutting out and cutting down on sugar and processed carbohydrates and eating whole foods. I'm sure exercise has played a big part. I'm sure the fasting has made a big part. I'm sure that losing some weight and losing some of this visceral fat, the dangerous fat, there's subcutaneous fat's not dangerous, but the visceral fat, the stuff you have in your belly that's packed in around your organs, and liver fat, those are the dangerous fats. So I think getting rid of those has helped a lot. It's reduced inflammation, seemingly. Certainly don't feel all the inflammation. And here's a last little thing. After the pandemic and I went back to the gym, I could do maybe 2-3 pull-ups, maybe. Well, now I'm back to doing almost 10 pull-ups. I never thought I would do that again. I thought, because it was 3 forever. Like I wasn't getting any better. And so yesterday I did pull-ups without any kind of support, and I managed to do 7 without any support yet. It was hard, but I did them. And like, oh my God, I'm going to get back to doing 10 pull-ups again. Anyway, that's my time. Thanks very much. You're in charge of your health, and I would encourage, again, not advising, but I would just to give you the notion. That's all I want to do. Just give you the notion that things that you may accept about yourself, just as well. I'm 40, I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70, I'm 80. That's just going to happen. Not necessarily. I don't know. I don't have answers. But certainly the things that I thought, well, these are just with me. I'm just going to have to learn to live with high blood pressure. Nope. I don't. I don't have to learn to live with high blood pressure. I can deal with it. Anyway, that's my time. Thanks very much for tuning in. Hope to see you next time here on Deserts Aplenty. Bye.